P.O.P, aka the Preston Outdoors Podcast, and in this week's episode, we got a topic that I'm really excited to talk about, and a guy I'm really excited to talk to. We got Cam Millholen coming on here shortly, and we're going to talk about kind of the ins and outs of being a co-angler. Cam has been fishing as a co-angler a few years longer than I have, and it's going to be fun to bounce around and some of the ideas and stuff that we've come across here in the last few years on how to be more of a successful co-angler, tips and tricks, stuff like that. And it's really a topic that you don't really hear about. You hear off and on, but I think if somebody that's interested, if you're interested in getting in the bass fishing game as a co-angler, even if especially the walleye fishing game, getting into as a co-angler before making the jump to be a boater or a pro, or just this is the level you want to be at and you want to learn about a new body of water from somebody that's actually got a lot of skin in the game for tournament fishing, stuff like that. So we're going to get into that. Cam's going to get on here pretty soon. We got a little housekeeping things that we're going to talk about first. Just to let you guys know, if you didn't already, you're listening to this, obviously, whenever you are, but our podcast launches on Tuesday mornings. Every Tuesday morning so far, we've been really, really good. We're getting out new podcast episodes. You can watch it on all your major streaming platforms. Listen to it on all your major streaming platforms. And then you're also going to be able to watch the actual video on the Preston Outdoors YouTube channel. So you can go ahead and do that and kind of view them both, whichever way you would like to do that. But first off, from the home front, I am back home here in North Dakota. I was actually taking off, would be last weekend. We were heading down to Springfield, Missouri. I was going to stay a night in Springfield, Missouri. And I was going to take off down to Jasper, Alabama for the first Bassmaster Central Open of the year. I got down 10 hours into the drive. I got down to just south of Kansas City, Missouri. Got a text saying to read my email and go ahead and pull over on the side of the road, read my email. And it said that everything's been postponed. So I had a decision to make. I tried looking up some guys I knew, some buddies, to see if I could go fishing or anything like that. I'm doing the Opens again. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm doing the Opens, Central Opens again. This will be my second full season doing that as a co-angler. So I didn't have my boat or anything. Otherwise, I would have stopped at some lakes that I've, just stopped and do some fishing for a day or something. But I didn't. Turned around, drove home. I left my place at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got back the next morning at about a little after 1 o'clock. So close to 21 hours of driving. I rigged a bunch of rods up that night, 5 or 6 rods, cleaned out the boat. I got all the water spots off, cleaned it up, waxed it, stuff like that. And then got to bed about 2:30, woke up at 4:30, hit the road at 5 o'clock, and headed west to western North Dakota to fish basically one of the only open bodies of water for bass fishing. And took a buddy with me, and we went over there. Slow start. We actually had, I'll throw some images up here if you're watching on YouTube. And you'll see the other clips pictures on my Instagram and Facebook. But it was snowing when we got there. I had about an inch of snow, half inch of snow to inch of snow sitting on the deck of my boat before everything warmed up. Fishing was really slow for the first 3 hours, and then proceeded to catch over 30 fish. And I got lost one that was about 4 pounds next to the boat. Got one that was almost 5 in the boat, and had a great time. Caught almost about 30 fish between the two of us. So it was a great time. A lot of driving. I don't know how I made it. I really don't know how I made it, but I kind of told everybody and told myself I'm going to make it as far until I got tired. And I really didn't get that tired until I really got home. I think I hit my second or third wind, whatever it was. So it is what it is. We're back home. We're taking off the end of April here to head down to Lake Pickwick in Tennessee, the Tennessee-Alabama border. So that'll be technically the second stop of the Central Opens. The first one got moved to the 7th through the 9th of October. And then I've got a tournament. So that one's on, Lewis Smith Lake, 7th through the 9th of October. 2 weeks later, I've got one down on Grand Lake in Grove, Oklahoma. So I'm going to be home for maybe 10 days in October. So yeah, it's going to be a grind. Middle of duck season, beginning of pheasant season. So we'll have to sacrifice some things there, but that'll be fine. But yeah. As always, I would love to see some questions and comments. We haven't really been getting much in, but you guys can send them over to Instagram or Preston Outdoors, 2 at gmail.com. Send your questions over there. I really like to do a question and answer video sometime. Also, I want to hear some response from you guys as well. Remember to get those on the Preston Outdoors website. You can go to the blog or the podcast tab there and leave a comment on the blog there. So I take it down every week and put the new episode up every week. So that way you can go ahead and go there, leave some questions, comments. I want to do a Q&A episode sometime. And then I also have another question. I'm interested in trying to do, I don't know what day of the week it would be or stuff like that, but try and do a YouTube live. So it's like a little seminar. The weather's warming up here to where we can do it on the water. Or we can be here in the studio talking to you over stuff. So I don't know how many people will be interested in that, but I want to do some YouTube live stuff coming up here since the weather's getting nice. Haven't never done a YouTube live, and I think it'd be kind of cool for everybody to hop on and listen to that. So without further ado, I think that's all of it on my end. We're going to get Cam here, and we're going to talk about the kind of the ins and outs of being a CoAngler. And Cam will be a great guy to have on here. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everybody. I got Cam Millholen here with me tonight, today, whatever time you're listening to it here. Cam, welcome back. Welcome to the P.O.P.
Thank you for having me, Ethan. I appreciate it.
So Cam was the guy I wanted to get on here. Him and I have been chatting, for a long time now, but definitely for the fact of I was trying to think of a topic for this week's show. And I was just it was last week, I was just in the realm of getting ready to get packed up to head down to Alabama for the first Bassmaster Central Open. And I was just thinking about like, dude, I got so much crap to get going, to load up and head down there and stuff like that. And I'm like, let's talk about co-angling. Let's talk about the prep going into it and stuff like that. So I kind of did it in the intro, talked about how you've done co-angling and stuff more longer than I have. We'll get into that later on here. My first thing is I want you to tell everybody that's listening, that's watching, tell us a bit about yourself, how long you've been, fishing tournaments, stuff like that, where you're from, for instance. If nobody's followed along on my social medias, they may not know where you're from and that we fished a couple times together. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in San Diego, California. And again, my name's Cam Millholen. I'm 32 years old. I've been fishing tournaments for about probably 3 years now. But anyways, I grew up in San Diego. I grew up saltwater fishing and fishing little freshwater holes and stuff like that. And Lake San Marcos was one of them, little golf course places around there. I do lots of saltwater fishing, calico, halibut, all that. I was deckhanding off Oceanside, a couple of boats in the harbor there, Helgren's to be specific, a couple downtown San Diego. But yeah, anyways, I'm here. I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate you for having me on. So
where are you at now? Where are you located at now?
Oh, and now I'm in Phoenix, Arizona here. I've been living here on and off. My parents retired here for about 10 years ago. So, man, I've lived in a lot of places in the last 10 years, about 7-8 different states. So I'm kind of settling here for Arizona. I really like here. There's lots of opportunities here for bass fishing, tons of tournament circuits that can higher your tournament level for sure. So yeah.
So if we're gonna, like you said, he's down in Arizona. Cam, it was actually 2 years ago. My family and I were going down there for just a quick trip, and I put something on Instagram saying that I was heading down to Phoenix. And Cam reached out to me. He's like, "Dude, I'm like right down the road." I was like, "No way!" And we fit it into where it was like it's only like 3 or 4 hour period that we had. I stopped by a local pond. Cam met up with me. I didn't bring any rods really to go down. So Cam had a couple rods for me and we did some fishing. Didn't catch anything that time, but it was nice to meet somebody. I've touched on this too on a few of my posts on Instagram and stuff. Cam and I both are partnered with and work with Cast King, so we use predominantly their rods, reels, and lines, stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to meet somebody else that's on their pro staff and stuff like that, and be able to get to swap stories and stuff like that. And then actually this year we went down there again, had one day, and Cam actually picked me up from the Airbnb that we were staying at. We headed down to Lake Roosevelt and hooked up with AJ Gore, who's one of the higher up guys with Cast King and does give it away AJ on their shows and stuff like that. So we were able to hop in his boat and do some fishing. So it's really cool that with our partnership with Cast King and social media, Cam and I have been able to fish together. So once again, why I wanted to get him on here. So if we're going to talk about this, we're going to move on a little bit. You've been all over, you said multiple states, stuff like that. What is your favorite species to target then when you're fishing? I mean, it doesn't have to be, it'd be anything, any species you could pick.
Oof. I really like saltwater fishing. I mean, that's what I grew up doing. I lived in Hawaii Kona, the Big Island to be specific, the west side of Kona. And I worked for a little tackle shop there called Pacific Rim Fishing. And, they had the billfish tournament. I mean, big game fish tournaments. And I worked there for a couple of years, and I got to know the locals. And but my priority focus right now is bass fishing for sure. That's definitely what I want to focus on and keep focusing on, tournaments wise, and future as well. So my heart is, I just went to Shasta and caught some really good spotted bass for my first time. Those spots, man, are so mean and aggressive. They're awesome. I love spotted bass, smallmouth. I think that's definitely my favorite for sure. I've been to Florida too. Mm-hmm. I take that back. Now that I think about it, man, there's lots of other species that I want to catch. Everybody be talking about those golden dorados, and I'd love to go to the Amazon, man, North America somewhere, and target that. And I've caught some peacock in Florida, but it would be really cool to experience that down there in Brazil and stuff. And, do one of those trips. But
so if you had to pick one out of all those you mentioned, what's your favorite?
I'd probably have to say I had a real blast. Those peacocks fight so hard, man. They're really fun. I'd really like to go and target them and some other species down there in the Amazon River.
That's something peacocks are on my bucket list. I mean, the biggest opportunity I'm going to have is sometime going to that side of Florida and fish for those. Probably never will make it over to the Amazon. It'd be fun to do, but all the sicknesses and stuff you can potentially catch over there. And I don't like needles the way it is for all the immunizations you guys got to get. So if it would be a dream come true, but yeah, I'd probably have to go to Florida to catch them. So what's your favorite way to fish? Like, I know there's a bunch of different categories people put themselves into, or other people put themselves into. What's your favorite way to fish?
Oh man. I love flipping heavy cover. I love throwing that frog. I love fishing with braid. I like fishing heavy, fast. I mean, just this weekend in Havasu, I fished the drop shot day 2 all day. I've been fishing a lot more finesse, and Arizona definitely teaches you a lot more discipline. And I'd say that widens your horizon of using baits and stuff. I lived in Pennsylvania recently too. That was a great experience. There was a lot more cover and just like duckweed, algae, and that's where I pretty much really honed in on my frogging skills. That taught me a lot. And so
that thicker, heavier cover, that's what you really like to do.
Yeah. I love fishing deep though too, don't get me wrong. I love fishing with spoons. I love drop shot, and I love dropping on them, video game fishing style. But yeah, there's a couple of ways that I love fishing, man.
So besides fishing, what is something that you really enjoy to do? Like if you're not fishing, something like that, a hobby, a habit. I mean, I've had people on here, they say they love to fish and there's not much else they like to do. I mean, most people know here for me, I like to hunt. Was just hunting today, actually. We're shooting snow geese today. That's why we had to record this a little bit later than we thought, because my brother and I went out and shot some more birds. But what's something
you were plowing some more greasers,
Yes, that's right. We're filling the tailgate full. So what's Cam like to do besides fishing?
Well, I love skateboarding, honestly. That's what I grew up doing in San Diego, and surfing, honestly. But there's no saltwater or beach here, so I haven't been able to get on a surfboard, honestly, in a while. But I'll never stop skateboarding. Some type of skateboard, whether it's just a cruiser, but I'll never stop rolling on those 4 wheels.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Especially those ponds, like when you and I fished the first time, you like, I'm going to go try this spot, hop in your skateboard and skate it all the way around, and then you start fishing. I was like, well, that certainly beats walking. I always fall off those things, so I never really done it, but yeah. So, yeah. But we're going to talk about the co-angling thing. So I want to dive into this. I think, obviously you and I in the last 2 months, 3 months had either called once a day or once every 2 or 3 days, FaceTime and stuff like that. I've had a good time doing that. I want to talk about the co-angling side. First off, I want to jump into, you had mentioned 2 or 3 years, but I want to talk about, have you been 2 or 3 years for the tournament scene? Is that how long you've been co-angling for and stuff like that?
Yeah. As far as, if you would say pro-am circuit type deal, boater, non-boater. Yeah, for sure. I fished like some little smaller derbies when I was a kid in Clear Lake. That's like my first, with my Uncle Bob. That was like my first taste of the like kind of derby scene.
Yeah.
It was just a little kids 3-fish limit, and yeah, that's I was probably about 15, 16. I used to stay at this place in Napa, Eugene. It was called the Beachcomber. Every year I'd go out there with my uncle, and that's where I really learned how to fish. Starting to fish as a kid. So that actually is probably one of my favorite lakes, man. The fish there are it's just so incredible at Clear Lake. So yeah, it's been awesome, man.
So for the most part, from what you've been doing, it's all been co-angling stuff from the beginning. So that's why I wanted to get. Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, shoot. I wish I would have started off fishing as a co-angler. We don't have tournaments here. You know, we got two. Like I said before, we've got 2 bass clubs in the state of North Dakota. So there's really no, really option to start up like that. And I think it's I got a real late start into it, to doing the co-angling side, to move up and stuff like that. So you're in Arizona. You're talking about do the co-angling stuff. We talked about what are the main circuits that you're fishing right now, or that you have fished. Like, tell us what some of the opportunities are there for, like, the names of the circuits and stuff like that you're fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I fished a little bit with Bass Nation just as a guest. Nothing. I haven't fished a full season with them or anything like that. I've fished only a couple tournaments as a guest. I fished 2 years ago there with them at Havasu. Great trip. It was a midwinter, late winter trip tournament. It was around December, but yeah, I've only been fishing TBF for 2 years. This is my second season, actually. My first season, I actually won it and went all the way to the national championship. I won state regionals at Lake Shasta, those spotted bass. And man, there's with Arizona, it's fishing year round, and there's so much opportunities. You have one bass, you got just all these tournament circuits that can help you lead to the next level. And TBF is a great platform for that. That's where I've started. I had an opportunity to go down to the Red River in Shreveport, Louisiana, and just talk about a great opportunity. We had a little awesome bungalow cabin down there at the South Marina Red River Resort, and there's 22 cabins. So it was really cool to meet everybody from the lower 48 the states, and it's all about connections and just meeting new people. And it was part of the Living Your Dream package for TBF and /FLW collab, whatever. And I fished for $35,000. Unfortunately, it wasn't my time, but obviously just a great experience overall. Man, shallow water fishery, dirty water. Hard to find them, but when you're on them, you're on them.
Yeah.
And it was really awesome. We had a cold front blow through, but started to pick up later on. The fish were starting to pull up. It was getting a little bit warmer, and that buzz bite and frog bite turned on, and it was pretty fun, man. So that was a great opportunity, and I'm really hoping again this year I can make the state team, and hopefully win another regionals and make my way down to another state championship, because that was an awesome experience. So
yeah, because like I said, we don't have stuff like that here. We had the TBF, or TBF is abbreviation for the Bass Federation, or most people call it just the Federation, whatever, for people who don't know what that is. So in North Dakota, we had one for a couple of years. We just don't have the boat drop for it. So I don't even think this year they're going to have it anymore. So I think would be I can't even remember if it was like the 3rd or 4th year. I actually qualified for the regional per se championship. And North Dakota was hosting it that year. I qualified as a co-angler. It's the first co-angling event I ever went to, and we did it on Lake Skakawea. And first day, wind out, everything like that. The little bit different setup for us is that there's no culling in North Dakota. So once you brought in 3 fish and put those in your live well, you're done. There's no rotating. There's no upgrading. So you had the choice to, you put your 3 in the box and you're done. You could fish, but you can't upgrade per se, or cull, that kind of thing. So guys had to make decisions and stuff like that. It was a 1-day derby because the first day got blown out. So that's kind of I wish we had more of that. I wish we had more opportunities in the region I live in, and say North Dakota. Minnesota has them. You can definitely go and do that for anybody that's listening, to do the CoAngler and then qualify for the state. So I want, since you did it last year, and that's what I got written down here, from the local level to the regional level to making nationals, I want you to kind of tell us, what does a guy got to do? I just signed up for my bass club, for my bass federation. I know it's all based off of numbers and how many people are participating in your region, but to go from the local TBF to qualify to go to regionals, what did you have to do? How did you have to place to even qualify for that?
Yeah. The placing, well, to start off with, last year we had a very small field. We only had about 12 boats. So
Okay.
it was literally, if you did top 5 or better at each tournament, you were going to the state team.
So they took you as, I don't mean to interrupt you, but they took you as you're the top, you're basically the angler of the year on the CoAngler side for your region, correct? Or your local, that's how you get picked to go to regionals?
No, not CoAngler of the year. If you make the state team, and once you go to this, the Derby, the regional tournament, and you win that, whether you're CoAngler of the year or not,
how did you get in the state team? That's my question. How did you get to the next level to go to regionals? Before you even get there, how did you get to qualify to go to regionals?
Basically I won a few tournaments. I'd have to look that as far as like points wise.
Yeah.
But,
well, I just didn't know if they took the top at that year. Did they take the top 3? Did they take the top 2?
They take top 6 boaters, and then they also take the top 6 CoAnglers.
That's what it is. Yeah. So basically you got to place in the top 6 that year to go. So now you've made that. You fished in your top 6. You are off. Where was regionals at again?
Lake Shasta in California.
So you got, now Cam goes from Arizona, and now he drives up to Lake Shasta in California. And now how many boats are we talking about in this regional then?
This was about, I'd say about a 40 boat field.
Okay. And are they coming from different states, or is it everybody from Arizona?
So it's joint district of Arizona and California. So the top, I think they took the top 12 from California, or the top 15 from California, top 15 boaters, top 15 co's, and then the top 6 CoAnglers, and then boaters from Arizona, and then they put them together.
Because that's the same thing with North Dakota. When they ran it, it was North Dakota, I think South Dakota, and then Montana was with North Dakota because they didn't have enough. But yeah, it was that combined regional, because there wasn't enough from each state. So everybody understands that people from Arizona and people from California went to Shasta and California, and now they're competing. So how does it work from the pro side and the CoAngler side? What do you have to do then to go to nationals that you did?
Oh man.
You got to win it. You got to win it as a boater, and you got to win it as a CoAngler. So they only take one co and one pro.
Yep. That's it.
So you were representing. Yeah. So you were representing the region of California and Arizona to take off. So basically, from what Cam had to do is 2-day tournament.
Yep.
2-day tournament. You had to win at the end of that tournament, and it was only you two, one CoAngler and one boater. And that go on. So tell us about that. Tell us just a synopsis of your day 1, your day 2. Probably one of the biggest tournaments you've ever fished so far, and going in there. What's your mindset going in, and give us a little synopsis? Because like I said, this is a big deal, from going ahead and fishing from the local level and working your way up to the regional, and now you're trying to qualify for the championship. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But what was your mindset, and kind of tell us how your tournament went?
Yeah, absolutely. Day 1, my mindset first off was to just get 5 bites each day. I didn't care what my boater was. I was just going to stick with my confidence baits, throw a jig and a drop shot behind the boat, and literally just get 5 bites. So the pairing night came where we all met at Lake Shasta, and under the overhang by the marina. They picked our partners, and then I met my day 1 boater. Anyways, my day 1 boater came up to me. He was probably my age, mid-30s or so. He introduced himself, and he goes, "Hey, man, the way I'm going to be fishing, it might seem like you're getting backboated, but I'm going to be throwing an A-rig about 10 foot offshore." And by offshore, I mean the bank, not like offshore.
Yep.
And, those those spots need something to pin that bait against the wall to eat. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to, I mean, I understand that, because there's real tight, steep bluff walls at Shasta, and really like fast transitioning banks from like chunk rock to clay, red clay, and where he was all the way up to sack arm. He supposedly said he was on a pretty good bite in practice. And then, I mean, when he said he was going to be 10 foot off of the bank, I mean, it left me no room to fish. And
So
I was pretty bummed, dude. And
yeah. So I want to stop you right there. But if anybody doesn't know,
go ahead.
backboated from a co-angler standpoint, explain that to somebody that doesn't understand what you and I understand what's going on. What is backboating?
Basically, it's just when the boater gives you no room to fish. There's nowhere for you to cast, and at least a 180-degree turn. I mean, from there's just, you can't cast. There's nothing for you to fish, or or maybe he goes offshore and he goes to a spot, and there's several different examples of being backboated. But
you covered the scenario is that you as a co-angler, there's times where he was saying imagine this: we've got a bluff wall here, the fish are sitting here, the guy's sitting here, and he's casting parallel with the bluff wall. So Cam is out the back, and there's not really, besides the back wall behind you or throwing out into the open, there's really no place to fish. It's also common on some brush pile fisheries, offshore fisheries, where the boater is pointing right at the brush pile he wants to fish, and then you get to fish the water behind you, but mostly the cover that they're fishing is in front of them. So the term backboating is meaning that, and it happens, like it just happens. And as a co-angler, we've got it written down here, we're going to talk about, you have to overcome that to try and catch fish. So I just wanted you to go into what that meant. But okay, he's backboating, he's fishing these spotted bass. Like what's your mindset going into that? How are you attacking that scenario that you're in then?
The only thing I could think of was if once he hits or goes around points, like that was my chance to like cast across it and then bring it across. And that's usually where I would pick up a few more bites, or if it was like a steeper bluff wall, I would just pitch a drop shot. And then I literally only caught 5 fish on a drop shot all day. That's the only way I caught all 5 fish. I only had 7.5 pounds. He only had maybe 8 or 9 or something. So and I knew right away as soon as he told me at the pairing meeting, and I was just thinking kind of to myself, like, oh boy, here we go. Like, I'm just going to have to finesse fish. And I was just using at the time a little 6-inch straight tail brute tail worm, and I was just wacky rigging it on the drop shot, and they were just munching it.
So all day and day one, you got 5 bites.
Yep. 5
and
bites.
You made it count.
Yep. Yeah. I don't even think I called day one. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
So you're going, what were you sitting in after day one? Do you remember?
Maybe top 15.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, you're like in the middle of the pack then, or I would say you're top 2/3 of the pack. You're sitting in there. Yeah. It's still within striking distance, stuff like that. You're going into day 2. You figure out, you talk to your boater on day 2, what his game plan is, and what's your mentality going in then on day 2.
Well, as soon as I wait in, my day 2 boater comes up to me and he goes, hey, I'm such and such, and I'll be your boater day 2. And he's like, just be ready because we're on them and we're not going far. And I go, okay, for sure. And he goes, no, literally, like it's just right around the corner. It's a pretty well-known community hole at Lake Shasta. So it was right around Beaver Island. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's good. He was in contention. Him and a pretty well other known dude in Arizona, Steve Lund, and him. Steve Lund was in first, and my boater was in second.
Okay.
So anyways, so day 2 starts, and we pull up to the spots, and I noticed all day he was just throwing a nail shaky head, which is I forget what his name is, Gutierrez or something, his special little shaky head worm or something, his nail weight or something. Anyways, he was throwing that. So he was working these points super slow, and when he would go around the points, he would stop, and it would let me, again, really just slow down and pick apart what he was fishing. And he fished how I wanted to fish, and it let me slow down and really pick apart the spots. And we literally fished there all day, and Yeah, I was catching quality fish at one point. He was getting pretty upset and was taking the net and jabbing them because I was catching. He was saying he was catching quality fish, at least 2.5, 3.5 pound spots.
Yep.
So, um,
So what'd you use to catch them? What were you using?
that's what I was just about to say. So I was at first using a drop shot, same technique. I just all I cared about was 5 bites, and I knew it was anybody's ball game because at Shasta there's a bunch of hot dog rats there, and it's a game of ounces. So I literally thought in my brain, like, all right, I'm going to pick up the jig and start getting some bigger bites. I was using a little Kitech Finesse compact jig, and it had this little chartreuse in it. And I think that was the deal. He was trying to match the same jig, and I don't know, when you're using tungsten versus lead, you get a little bit different sound pitch for different types of cover that you're fishing. So I really thought it made a difference because I was getting the more quality and better fish. So yeah, jig and drop shot all day. That's the only thing I got my fish on. And
how many bites you getting then? How many bites you get? Only 5 again?
I probably culled twice, probably 7 or 8 bites. One I lost because I flipped it up in the boat, due to me being scared of him jabbing the fish because he was getting kind of irritated, like, oh, dude,
get in the net.
he like, I was literally just waxing him on the back, dude. Like, and sometimes you just can't stop the back of the boat. And yeah, I guess it was my time then. And I literally won by a couple of ounces.
Yeah.
So
I remember that you called me, or you didn't have a good reception, but you called me on the way home and you're just freaking jacked. And I was like, I don't even know what this means. Like, what's going on? You're like, I'm going to the Red River. And just we're all jacked up. So now we got that understanding. You win. You win at the regional, and what the path you have to do, a regular season to qualify for the state. Because it's the steps of these tournaments, and as a co-angler, you have to do, the boaters have to do the same thing. But it's every step to go to a higher level. The competition gets more. The boats get more. I mean, it just gets tougher and tougher and tougher. So now you went down to the Red River. Now tell us where the Red River was at and what's kind of your mindset going into that. Now you're fishing the TBF National Championship. This is the Super Bowl for the TBF.
This is where all the big dogs are. And
there's, so what did you say? There's 48 or 47
48
representatives?
States. 2 per state. So you figure 2 times 48.
So there's a pro and a co-angler from each state, correct?
Yep.
That's gonna go down there. So like I said, North Dakota probably didn't have a representative this year. Then probably like Alaska or Hawaii, one of those two. I mean, so there's probably maybe something like that they didn't go. So you're going down there. This is the cream of the crop, stuff like that. It's a 2-day tournament again.
This was a 3-day tournament.
So what's your mindset going in there then? I mean, you're heading down to the national championship. What are you looking to do?
Man, me and my boater, he's a stick. He's a pretty well-known trash fisherman, power fisherman. He's had some experience on a Wichita out there and a couple other places, Grand Lake, closer to there. So he kind of knew of a rough ball game, what we were going to do, fish shallow, swim. We were hoping it was going to be warmer, and it was before the week before. And then, of course, during tournament time, that weather hits and that cold front came in. So it kind of screwed things up a little bit. But going into that, man, I literally did so much studying. I watched every bass, and there's so much history from that lake. Oh my gosh, there's classics, there's Forest Wood Cups, there's a lot of history on that lake, and there's lots of different ways to catch them. So I did a lot of studying, and I talked to a good buddy of mine, Hunter Freeman, who won the 2018 FLW Collegiate down there, and he was giving me some good tips and stuff down there as well on just what to do colors wise. And man, that I didn't get one bite during the 3 days of practice I was there, not one. And my boater only got 2, one being a giant gar flipping. And so I mean, and my day one boater, it was a disaster. I mean, I don't know if I should go in how heavy of details, but I mean, the guy was from New Hampshire, and he was roughly new to tournament fishing, and let alone just, I think, fishing in general. He had all spinning reels. He cast it upside down. Had a real nice 2014 FX 200 Skeeter. Super clean boat, but
anyway, you guys got on fish.
So yeah, we ended
Because, I
up
mean,
doing.
you were
We
saying
ended
that
up
you
dig
practiced,
on
didn't get any fish. So now you're going in mentally, you're like, oh, this place sucks. I hate this place. I'm that far from home. But then
It's
all of a sudden you go.
cold, it's raining, it's miserable, just like Shasta was, but
Yep.
that actually ended up paying off. So
Yeah.
anyways, we get down to this quote spot, and I go, nice, man, where did we find this? He said, oh, it's just a fishing house marked on my graph. It's just a community hole where it's just marked for everyone. Like, there's fish down here. So we go to the back of the cove, and we actually just start getting into them. And I actually ended up losing really 2 good fish on the chatterbait that could have definitely helped me fish on day 3, the championship Saturday. But then day 2, so day 1's ending. So,
Yep.
So day 1 ends, and then I probably about have 3 fish for 4 pounds, maybe. Rough day. Grinded all day for those 3 fish, excuse me. And so I meet my day 2 boater at the end of weigh-ins, and he's in contention. He's in 5th place right now. And he goes, man, all you need is a buzzbait and a spinnerbait. I'm on him, okay? And we didn't know, but they said the top 3 anglers were going to have cameras in their boaters, in their boat, excuse me. And I had no clue. So they were just driving around asking people, hey, what place did you finish in? Okay, we're going to hop in your boat if you're a top 5 or less. So we had a camera in our boat all day. And
okay.
Yeah, so now
cool.
day 2 comes, and he was a little bit more on top of it than my day 1 boater for sure.
But that's cool. I don't think we'll talk about this later, my brief career, but I've yet to have a boater tell me I'm on them. Like, so it's a little bit different. It's kind of cool that you've had boaters tell you that, because it gives you a great feeling to know going into the day. You just already start with more confidence, just knowing that you're going to be around fish. I have not been lucky enough to have that yet, so it's been more of a grind.
Well, man, I feel the tournaments you fish to are a little bit more. I feel obviously you're fishing the opens and stuff. They're a little bit big boy league than me. These guys are still pros and stuff, and they're fishing different circuits and stuff. But yeah, those guys that you're fishing with are, and you get 3 fish compared to 5 fish. For me, catching for TBF, I'm working for 5. You're working for 3, so it's a whole different ball game, man. And yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah. So you get on day 2. What'd you catch on day 2 then?
Oh man, so day 2 we're in one cove with about 13 to 15 boats, all just doom, 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 doom. I mean, it's just everybody's whacking them too, and we're probably in about 2 to about a foot of water all day, and a couple hours go by, then the cameraman gets on. I think I had maybe 1 fish in the box by then. I was fishing a Blitz Lures Buzz Frog, little plastic weedless frog, little Super Duty type bait. It's kind of like a buzz toad, but it's weedless with 2 hooks on the top like a normal frog. Anyways, he was fishing a buzzbait, and he just was catching them left and right.
They've got more money on the line. I mean, that's one of the things. I haven't had it as bad as you had, but there's been a couple times where guys are like, hey, I'd appreciate it if you give me first 5 casts on this frog, and then I'll I'll do this, or I appreciate this. And the guys I've been with have been respectful about it. They, by the rules, they can't tell you can't fish somewhere. But again, when you're fishing with money, makes people do some weird things, man. And so that's the same instance there.
All right. So yeah, money will definitely do some crazy things in tournaments, man. And when you're in contention like that, it's weird, because the last time I've been in a tournament, like semifinals and then the national championship, like I wasn't doing so well, like middle of the pack. And I feel like maybe almost they pair you with someone who's in contention to kind of help you. I don't know. That's just my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but
most of that stuff's random though.
I know.
You've just got some great draws.
Apparently, because both times they were both in contention. So, and I had definitely opportunities both times to put, the first, time I put 5 fish in the boat at Shasta, but unfortunately at the national championship, I didn't do so hot. So, we wrapped up day 1, and now day 2, we're in this pocket with the boater, and he's getting all wild with his hook sets, and I had missed a few, and the cameraman was just now finishing getting all the line undone, and we turn out the pocket, and that's when I had got my third fish on the frog, and that actually had been my the best fish of the day for me so far. Actually, being on the Red River in general, it was probably 3 pounds. I remember texting you and sending you the picture of the buzz frog out its mouth.
I know, it was awesome.
That was exciting, man. So unfortunately, I finished 27th overall. I finished second in my division, which is 5 states: Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, which is considered the Midwest region.
Okay.
So again, obviously, awesome experience. And yeah, that's, if you have any other questions or how else I ended up, it was really cool to see the people that you met too as well throughout your stay. Get to fish Friday and get to experience what you wanted to experience. It's pretty cool, and it gives you more drive to fish harder, fish smarter, and get back there next year. So I'm already. I just had a pretty good 4th place finish here at Lake Havasu. Cashed a pretty good, decent check, and I'm ready for this season. So
yeah, I mean, you like I said, you started from the locals. You had to fight and claw your way to the top 6 or whatever it was. You get there, and then you got to perform there. It's like every level you make it to, it's not you can take a breath of excitement, and then you got to go back into it and dive back into it. I mean, yeah, you said you finished 27th. Well, dude, that's how many people in their first year fishing the TBF can go to can win regional, go to the regionals, win regionals, go to the national championship, and then be able to even 27th is still great. If you look at any point system, it's always, I mean, I thought that was pretty sweet. And I know you wanted to win, the thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you wanted to do it, but second in your division out of all those states and 27th place. I mean, yeah, it's not where we want to go as competitors, but I mean, looking back on your season, you got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a great time, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully making the state team this year again. So
yeah, this is the transition to it now. I'm going to ask you some questions here, since I mean, you've done it. You've gone all the way up there. Been doing the co-angling thing. Somebody sitting at home, and I've mentioned this and preferred this before in the intro. This does not have to be just for. And I told Cam this off of us recording. This does not have to be just for bass fishing. I know there's a lot of people up here where I'm at, North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, stuff like that, Wisconsin. There's smaller amounts of bass fishing, but the walleye scene is huge up here for your tournaments. So those professional tournaments, you can still do co-angling stuff for. So, right. I mean, I've always told people, if I had the love for walleye fishing as much as I do bass fishing, I would be more well off, or whatever the proper terminology is for that, because everything's so much closer, and it's just so much great walleye fishing up here, stuff like that. So if you're listening to this and you're trying to get into the co-angling stuff, or you've already doing it, don't forget, this isn't just for bass fishing because him and I are talking about it. It's just, that's what he specializes in. That's what I specialize in. So going with that, what is your preparation before the tournament? Now, I know you told me you watched a bunch of stuff for Red River and all that kind of stuff, but if you're going into, like, your preparation, you just got done going into Lake Havasu, from a tackle standpoint, are you bringing everything? Are you bringing certain things? And how are you packaging all that to where you can get it in your truck and you can get to the lake?
Right. Dang, that's a good question, man. Whew. Especially from a dirty water to clear water scenario, like from the Red River, the dirtiest of dirtiest water, to Lake Havasu, the cleanest of clean, clear, gin clear water, man. Unfortunately, I bring a little bit more than I should, which is also another very good question. One, it does you a couple things. It keeps you more prepared, and if something happens, you have that on backhand in case you need it. Yep. But yeah, obviously having less is more. But like I said, again, I'd much rather be more prepared than not having something, and then not, kicking myself in the butt later, being like, dang, I should have had that, or dang, I should wish,
or you're spending extra money going to the store and buying it. I mean, that's
that too, wasting time, having to,
wasting extra money. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and everything like that, tournaments too, every dime counts. Like from lodging to food to gas, getting there, boat gas.
Mhm.
It's crunch.
So are you taking all your rods when you go, or are you trying
I
to
do.
limit them? Okay. Yep.
Well, I don't take every rod. Most of my rods are technique specific rods
Yep.
from casting. Obviously, as you know, I fish a lot of the Speed Demon Pro rods. Excuse me. So unfortunately, most of the rods are pretty specific technique to
Okay.
where, all right, if I'm throwing this, I'm bringing that rod and that combo, and that's for this only all day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm bringing 5 to 6 rods every time I fish. Oh, in the national championship, you're only allowed 5 rods, and then they give you a TBF custom rod that they make. It's like a noodle. I swear it's made for you to lose fish. They're like, oh, we're going to give you a rod so you can go. And, they specifically say you allowed 5 rods, but the rod that they make, you can add it. So you get 6.
You can 6.
But anyways, so, dude, I bring 12.
I was going to say, bring all your rods. I mean, that's for everybody saying, for the most part, they're not saying, at least from the bass side of things, when I do the Bassmaster Opens, they're not saying, they try and preface no more than 6 rods. And that's some rules like the TBF might have. You can only bring 5, you can only bring 6. But I'm saying when Cam is hopping in the truck and he's taking off to go to the event, he is taking all of his rods. So he could take 15, 20, 30 rods if he wanted to, not meaning he's fishing with them, but he's taking them there just in case.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And tackle,
absolutely.
are you bringing all your tackle that you have, or are you kind of
it definitely depends on the fishery.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely depends. If I'm fishing a clear water, or if I'm fishing deep or finesse, there's definitely a lot more stuff that I bring than others. But there's a few things that I always have on me, and that's crankbaits, jerk baits, and spinner baits, and chatter baits. That's obviously everyone else loves fishing. Confidence baits, like I said, fish what you want to fish with. Fish with your confident baits, and bringing less is more, for sure. Like this weekend, I found out, like, I always bring too much stuff, like I said, but this weekend I found out I only needed 2 rods, jig and a drop shot. And that's all I caught my fish on. Oh, and the jerk bait. And the jerk bait.
So
which
3.
is all 3 of my confidence is the drop shot now, and the jig, and the jerk bait as well. And it ended up panning out for me. So
see, I guess I'm a little, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I get teased a lot for bringing too much stuff, but I only bring 1 tackle bag, which is the big monster casking truffle bag, or what I forget what it's called.
The big one.
But that. So anyway,
are you just bringing that bag down there, or do you have like an extra tub of baits and then you just bring that in the boat? Like I'm talking just going to the event, not fishing with.
So I bring the bag, and then usually I have a smaller little bag that I bring about 4 to 3 3700s. Several bags of plastics, and my terminal box. That's usually what I like to stick to. 3 3700s, terminal, and my little Flambeau box of plastics that it holds.
See, for me, I go to the different. I think I'm only up to, I say only, but 14 combos, something like that. So like I was packing up a head down to Alabama. All the rods, I put line. I think I separated them out. I need new line on 5 or 6 of them. So I spooled them all up, put the rod sleeves on them. They go in the front seat of my truck. And then I take all my tackle. Like you have way more tackle than I do. I've talked to people that
fish way too much stuff, man.
I have guys that just fish out of their kayaks and have more tackle than I do. So it might be a little bit different for me because, I mean, I venture out when I'm fun fishing, but I know what I like to fish and how I'm confident with. So I bring all my tackle. I get it in. I've got the medium-sized casking bag. I think it fits 7 tackle boxes in there. And then I've got an extra Rubbermaid tub that I put the rest of my tackle boxes in out of the boat. And I've got 3 like Walmart bags of random plastics. I throw all that in the truck, all that was in there, and then I go to take off. So then when I go to practice with the boaters, I'll still only bring about 5 to 6 rods when I practice. Only reason is because I'm getting myself prepared for the tournament, that I'm not going to be able to have all these rods go on and off. So you were talking about a great point that I want to jump into. You have more of your technique specific rods going into what you want to do. For me, I try and stay as general as possible when it comes to my rod reel combo. So if there's anything that I'm going to be throwing where top water or a jig or worm or Texas rig, anything to where I am moving the bait towards me. I'm having it's the Casking Perigee 2 7.4 heavy, and I'm having some kind of fast reel on there, most of the Speed Demon or Speed Demon Elite reel. So I can take any that whole category of dragging, hopping, flipping, pitching. All those can be wrapped up into 2 or 3 rods that I'm going to bring with. So I purposely try and use, out of the 6 rods, if we're dragging anything or flipping anything, I can have the same combo, either with braid on it or fluorocarbon on it. So I keep it super general. And then if we need to go to a cranking setup or something along that line that maybe requires a little bit more specific combo, I'll throw those in there too. But like I said, it's funny to see that you were bringing your technique specific stuff, and have this rod is used for this rod is used for that. Me, I'm like, I'm going to bring these 3 or 4 rods, and I have confidence, and you're able to throw anything on these rods if I need to switch it up. So I think it's pretty cool from what you're doing different from me. And I mean, I think it doesn't all have to be the same. And that's what I was trying to get out of this point is it's cool to see that other people are doing it different.
Yeah, absolutely. And another point to mention too, like, everyone's season is different. Not everybody has the same amount of tournaments that different states do. So like I heard from people in the national championship in different states, like Utah, for instance, my buddy that I just met, they only have 3 tournaments, 3 qualifiers all year long. And it starts in April. So, that it still goes with like how much stuff that you need to bring to as well, with how many tournaments you have, or just what you need is going to be lucrative for you too as well. Like there's so many different variables with it. Like, I don't know. I was just trying to touch base with tournaments and
Yep. No, I think it's cool. And the one thing I'll even touch on if we're going to dive into tackle more is you're able to fish with people on a boat more often than not. I have a boat, so I have everything labeled in each one of the boxes and stuff like that. When it comes to co-angling, that for me goes out the window, because I've got a box full of beavers. Well, come co-angling time, when I can only fit 6 or 7 boxes in my bag, there's going to be swim baits in there. There's going to be worms in there. I'm going to take some of the colors out I don't need. Everything will be mixed around and be combo, because you need to get as much, whatever you need, as much as you can in a bag, because they say, I mean, you're not supposed to bring a giant bag because you're taking up all that room, and you don't want a giant bag in there because it takes up all the room. You don't want to. Sometimes if I know I'm going to be flipping, pitching, whatever in these tournaments, I'm not even going to try and bring all 6 rods. There's a couple tournaments where I fish with 4 rods because I know I can switch things out. So don't try and be the guy with a big tackle bag on your thing and carrying 2 grocery bags plus your 6 max rods getting into a guy's boat. But I'm saying, like, if you can downsize all this stuff and just mix things up. So when I get back from an event, I'll open my tackle box and I'll go, oh my gosh, there's paddle tails in here. And most of it's soft plastic mixed around. Or I'll have a box of 2 or 3 deep diving crankbaits, a couple square bills, and a couple really small crankbaits, all in there with confidence colors to fish. So if you're super anal about getting everything organized, or you have your own boat and stuff like that, you've got to make sure, if you want to optimize the amount of stuff you can bring with the lack of a number of tackle boxes, make sure you're putting things in separate tackle boxes to go out there. And that's just a tip I've picked up on, and you've got to just kind of get over your anxiety about mixing stuff together to be able to be successful.
That's what's crazy to me. Yeah. That's what's crazy to me too, is to think that this little crybaby here, to think that people, I mean, it's a great thing to get started fishing tournaments, pro-am circuit tournaments as a co-angler, but it's crazy to think for me that people that have a boat to go and start to fish those as a co-angler just to get experience and see what you can learn from. And I really do think that's the way to go. But if you do have the option and you do have your own boat, and because there's a lot of times where I'm just honestly in tournaments, like, and I don't mean to be like, but I'm, there's times where I'm like, dang, like, dude, this guy, like, you know what I mean? Like, this guy has a boat, or like this guy, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. So,
but there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people. I guarantee you, there's a lot of people at your local level, anybody's local level, that could fish on, say, the Elite Series. I wouldn't say a lot. There is a few people, but they just choose not to. And so you've got the options like yourself, the guy that's, is probably getting ready to make the jump to fish out of your own boat. But it all sometimes it comes down to whatever option you have. For me, it's finances. Like I can't afford to fish the opens as a pro. Like I
Yeah,
can't
no, I
afford,
understand that.
I can't afford the entry fees and stuff. So like you said,
Yeah.
even though a guy like myself that's got a boat, I have learned more in the last 2 years of bass fishing behind some of these guys than I have
Oh,
the first how
absolutely.
many doing it. So it's a great option, even if you got your own boat. One, the entry fees aren't as much, so you don't have the amount of skin in the game per se. I mean, obviously the winnings aren't as much, but I've learned so much more than I've taken to my local lakes. I've taken some local tournaments, and I've had a lot more success on it. I would have never done it. My grandpa calls it, you're going to pay for your education somewhere. You're going to pay for it somewhere. So you might as well be paying for it on the highest level that I can afford to get to, and that happens to be the opens. And for you, the opens are so far to the east, since you're located in Arizona, that the best opportunity you have is the Nation and the TBF stuff to go in there. So look at your region. Go ahead.
We do have the one bass opens too as
Yep.
well. So we do have those as well, and then that in the Wild West Bass Trail, and So anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. But I'm just saying that's a tip that I've got is like, you're gonna pay for your education, so I might as well pay for it at the top level, even if it's a co-angler for myself. And that's the mentality I'm going into it until I can get stuff lined up to where maybe I have success. I win a couple, win one even, or have enough finishes to where then you can move yourself up and then take the next jump. So, but we got off on that tangent, but I want to talk about, you mentioned this earlier about you got 5 bites, whatever day it was in the tournament. I want you to talk to me about, now I fish tournaments out of my own boat. Yes, okay, 5 bites is super, super important. But I think the amount of bites or whatever bites you get out of the back of the boat, it's tenfold. So tell me about what do you got to do? You got to make your bites count as a co-angler.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm making sure my bait's looking presentable. I want everything perfect, because that opportunity comes, and it does come down to your boater at times where, like I was just saying, like, man, this guy's got to, if they're able to net the fish, like, there's so many variables in it. Fishing is full of ups and downs, especially tournament fishing. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So,
but it's people listening at home, if you haven't fished a tournament, you haven't done some of these higher level tournaments, it's not he blew up on my frog and I missed him and I'll go down the bank and catch another one in 10 minutes. It's, oh my gosh, that could be. I learned this the hard way down in the South this year in the fall, and I finally understood why people in the South say fall fishing sucks. Because up here in the Midwest, it's like fall fishing is awesome. They're getting ready to feed before they go for under the ice, and it's just like spring fishing. It's phenomenal. Everybody down south, like, that's why everybody deer hunts. That's why they go turkey hunting or whatever, because the fishing sucks. And so, I mean, we pre-fish for 2 or 3 days, and I get 2 bites a day. Okay, it's pre-fishing. I don't care. Come to the tournament, I might get 3 bites a day, and 2 of them might be too short. And then the one I lose next to the boat, and then all of a sudden I come in with 3. I come in with 3 fish on the first day. Like when we go to Lake Louisville, the bite was super tough. I come in with 3 fish for, like, I don't know, 6 pounds, maybe.
Oof, yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm in 16th place out of a 175 boat field, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. So you have to capitalize on whatever bites they are. If you catch all the bites that you get bid on, all the bites you bring in the boat, and they're all short, there's nothing you can do about it. You literally did what you could. So it's like, it's a different mentality for me in the back of the boat, is that every bite counts. You get the hook into that thing, you get it in the boat, and if it's a keeper, it's a keeper. If it's not, it's not. But if you don't capitalize on those bites, which are null and void or way down from the boater side, unless that one instance, like you said, where you were catching them better, you've got to make sure you get those fish landed, get them on the tape, and either get them in the live well or put them back and go on for the next one.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy when it comes down to it. So, but we've had a lot of time on here to talk about. I really appreciate you coming on and being able to, tell us about what it took for you to go from the local level, regional, then to the national championship, because, not a lot of people get to experience that, and stuff like that. So I want to ask you this. I want you to give me, narrow it down, bare bones, 3 tips you would give somebody that's getting into the co-angling side, just whatever, for fishing tournaments. What's 3 tips you'd give them?
Ooh. I would say pack light. travel with somebody and fish your confidence for sure.
100%.
Pack light. It keeps it simple. Keeping it is everything. Traveling somebody, less expenses. And I already forgot the third one. What did I say?
I don't know. What'd you say?
I don't remember, but anyways, yeah, that's
Fish your
that's
confidence.
my 3 tips.
Fish your confidence.
Confidence baits. So bring the things you know, and you're gonna get bit on, and make those 5 bites count, or 3 if you're fishing for 3, Bass Nation folks. Yep. And open friends. So yeah, make them count and get them to the boat. And
yes, keep it light. Travel with somebody. Travel expenses will be down. And if you can have the opportunity, like what you and I do, you were talking about traveling with a boater. Some guys that fish the opens, I'm able to travel with them, meet them down there and fish with them. And it's not, for me as a co-angler, I want to talk about this for a little bit too, or just a second. It's not for me to catch fish in practice or get dialed in, because I'm not a boater. I'm not at the front. Well, you and I aren't trying to get dialed in on something. We're going to find what works somewhat, but 90% of this time, your boater and my boater are going to be doing something totally different than the guys we practice with.
Right.
So I use it to look at water clarity, water temperature, water depth, structure, that kind of thing. I don't know
seasonal
if you do
patterns.
I don't know if you do the same thing or not, but
absolutely.
For me, it's not about getting bites. It's about figuring out just a little niche here or there, and then reusing it when you get into tournament day.
Yeah, especially for co-angler, because what you get in practice is definitely going to be 100% different what you're doing game day. So that's a very good point. And I like that a lot.
Again, it's another reason to simplify it is you don't have to get wrapped up in catching fish.
That too as well.
One thing I would say too is, in closing, bring cash as a co-angler.
Tip your boater. Yeah.
Tip your boater. Yep. I mean, they got gas, they got oil consumption, wear and tear on their rides, stuff like that. Even if you don't catch fish during the tournament, even if your boater had a bad day, stuff happens, blah, 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 things happen.
At least offer.
At least offer. I've had some guys that say, nope, I won't take it. And some guys are grateful that you do it. So too. When I go to an event, I bring a couple $100 with me in cash, and I don't maybe not spend it, maybe we'll spend it, who knows? But most of that money is set aside in say $20 bills, and then you can give the guy $20, give him $40, give him $50, whatever you feel for it. Help them out. I mean, they are actually taking you fishing for the most part, in tournaments and stuff. And if you're practicing with somebody, help them out. It'll go a long, long ways. And if and when you get to the boater position or pro position, it does help, so that's another thing I'd have for you is a tip. So that's all I got. But anything
absolutely. On that? Nah, man. I think we touched on
we touched on a lot of stuff, and that's as the season goes on, I want to get into it more. We'll be able to hop on and do some more of these talking about the underbelly of tournaments, because the co-anglers aren't talked about a lot, and which is fine because we're not putting thousands of dollars into stuff in a year just to fish one event kind of things. But for people, it may be too intimidating for somebody that's out there going to try and fish on the boater side of things. 1, financially, 2, time away from work, all that stuff. But you can do it if you want to make to the next step. And so that's the way Cam and I are trying to treat it right now for where we're at in our lives, is try and do better, get experience, and then someday him and I will be fishing out of the front of our own boats doing that. But we're going to probably wrap it up here, Cam. I want to thank you for coming on. Before we get off, I want everybody, where can they follow you to keep up with your tournaments and stuff like that? What are your social medias? You can tell us here. Everybody can stop by and give you a follow.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So my Instagram handle is fishing_for_days, days is spelled DAZE. And I only have YouTube and Instagram, and they're both the same. So fishing for days, fishing_for_days, DAZE, and 4 is spelled FOR as well.
Yep. So I'll have it popped up on the screen if you're watching the video. If you're listening to it in the podcast, it'll be in the description below. You can go ahead and follow Cam. Follow him along, keep him up to date. He's already won, or I can't remember, 1 or 2 tournaments into your season so far this year.
3. My 4th is on the 17th of April, 3 weeks at Lake Pleasant. So
he's already grinding out for this season, trying to make the state team.
Halfway over.
Yeah, I mean, halfway over, and it's almost April here, and I haven't even fished one yet. But that's
Isn't
just
that
funny.
great? Yeah.
It's crazy, but he's out grinding, trying to get back there. Go ahead and follow him, follow his journey as he's kind of doing the same thing I am on the CoAngler side, trying to qualify and move up the level. So we'll have all that popped up below in the description on the podcast. You guys can check him out and give Cam a follow. So once again, Cam, I want to thank you for coming on, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Appreciate you very much for having me on and giving me your time as well to come on here and just spread the word of CoAngler tournament scene and just gossiping and chilling. Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks again.
Not a problem. I want to thank you guys for watching, and make sure you check us out. Every Tuesday, we're doing a podcast episode along if you want to watch the podcast on the Preston Outdoors YouTube channel. And every Thursday, we've got a new YouTube video coming out. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Tune in next time to the P.O.P, a.k.a. the Preston Outdoors Podcast.